Welcome to CBS Sports HQ on this Friday, brought to you by the Capital One Spark Cash Plus card. What could unlimited 2% cash back do for you? Jeremy St. Louis alongside Amanda. Jeremy, this is our last show together.
It is our last show together.
Jeremy's going to be a professor. I dressed as a professor today.
Very nice.
Just for you. We are getting ready for a huge Week 15 in the NFL. Our crew, the NFL today, they are going to be at Detroit going up against Buffalo. I had the chance to see Matt Ryan this last weekend. Or earlier this week, and I'm not saying he regrets jumping through a table the last time they were at a Bills game, but
he didn't
land properly. So none of that this weekend. However, this is a massive game. There are other, though, Jeremy, with big implications.
Yeah,
by the way, would you jump through a table?
No, that would hurt.
Like, it's not your last show, but it's one of your last shows.
Would I jump through a table for one of my last shows?
Yeah.
No.
With a soft landing. We'll put a pad underneath.
Okay, maybe. But then I might not be able to make it to my last show if I get hurt.
That's true.
Right, yes. Let's talk about this NFL playoff picture, because if things stand as they currently do, look at what we have here. First round buys for the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs, who, of course, is going for that three-peat. Oh, we got a big game this weekend, as Amanda mentioned. I mean, Detroit-Buffalo this weekend, and our crew on location for that game. So that's what the playoff picture looks like right now. We have some teams that have must-wins ahead of them. Let's look at the AFC, the Colts, the Dolphins, and the Bengals. Rams, they did the job last night versus the 49ers. Falcons, Cardinals, and you have the Niners on that list alongside the Saints as things really get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's discuss the playoff picture with our two-time Super Bowl champion, Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, let's start with this game between Miami and Houston. The Dolphins going to Texas. The Dolphins haven't won in Houston since 1996. They've never beaten the Texans at home. They're clinging to hope with just an 11% chance of some playoff football. I mean, B-Mac, they're pretty much going to be eliminated with a loss here, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be a daunting task for Miami going into Houston. You talked about how difficult it's been for them beating that said organization. And then you look at the strengths for the Houston Texans, Jeremy. It's solely about their pass rush led by Danielle Hunter. They have done a great job in putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, but most importantly, sacking quarterbacks. They're in the top of the league in terms of that category in the National Football League. So will the Dolphins offensively be able to give Tua the comfort in being behind a nice pocket to go through his progressions, to be efficient? I don't know. I don't know if they can sustain that for 4 quarters. So to your point, you talked about, 11% chance for the Miami Dolphins to make the playoffs. Currently, they have no room for error. Sunday will be like a win or go home scenario for the Miami Dolphins. I think they're going to have a difficult time in finding a way to keep their playoff hopes alive against the Houston Texans this Sunday.
Yeah, and the Dolphins essentially, I mean, if they lose this game, they have to run the table in order to get into the playoffs, to have a chance to get into the playoffs. A Houston win will give the Texans the AFC South. All right, next game we want to talk about, Indy at Denver. One team hoping for a Miami win here is Indianapolis. They're 2 games back of the Texans in the AFC South, but they also need to get the job done as they go to Denver. And if they do, B-Mac, they're going to see their playoff odds climb to almost 50% here.
No question. And if the Colts can find a way to beat the Broncos this weekend, they still have an opportunity to try to win their division. When you look at where Houston currently sits, being 8-5, and if the Colts win, they would be 7-7. But in terms of the Colts, they're playing some inspired football led by their quarterback, Anthony Richardson. They're coming off a bye week. They should be fresh. They should be energized, but they're walking into a gauntlet in terms of defensive pressure, right? So that's why I believe it's imperative for Anthony Richardson to run the football. He needs to become a +1, because you look at all the injuries they've been dealing with in the offensive line. You do not want to allow the Denver Broncos to get a beat on what you're going to do. So when you look at the success the team has had, the Colts offensively, it's because number 5 has been running the football, either improvising, becoming a +1 in the running game, or calling QB design runs, especially in the red zone. When he's running the football, he is a better player, and their offense is better. And I think that has to be the mindset for them to be able to have success against the Denver Broncos. because Denver, they're thriving right now. They're playing inspired football. But the last time we saw Denver on that Monday night match against the Cleveland Browns, yes, they created some turnovers. They scored some points. But Jameis had some success throwing the football against the Broncos in the secondary-wise. So me personally, when you look at Denver, I like them in this spot because they've been playing the more consistent football. Bo Nix has been doing a great job as well, super efficient, and I love the pressure and the aggressive style that they present on the defensive side.
And you wonder how much the inclusion of Josh Downs might help this Indianapolis offense. He got a full practice in on Thursday, so hoping to see him back. And Indy, by the way, never made the postseason after starting 5-7 or worse. So they're looking to make some history here in terms of their franchise. All right, Green Bay at Seattle we want to look at next. Seattle welcoming the pack. The Seahawks looking for a 5th straight win and going into last night's Niners-Rams game. B-Mac, they were looking like a lock for a playoff spot with a Niners win and a win themselves. But with the Niners loss, their playoff chances actually dropped a bit, but a win puts them in a good position. Are we talking enough about what Mike Macdonald has done with this Seahawks team?
No, I don't think so, because you look at everything he's been dealing with. They started off pretty hot in the month of September, kind of tapered down a little bit, but a lot of their issues was coming because of injuries. You know, now having Leonard Williams back on the defensive line makes their defense entirely better. Even a week ago, not having Kenneth Walker in the lineup, Zach Charbonnet was scoring touchdowns and drinking wine at the same time. So this is a team that's playing really good football in the more critical moments of this season, and I like their chances, but I can tell you this much, they better keep looking in the rear view, because you see the two teams that highlight, Seattle and the Rams. That's the team the Seattle Seahawks need to be monitored while they're driving in their car, looking in their rearview mirror. Because if you have a slip up this weekend against a very, very talented, competitive Green Bay Packers team, you don't want to allow the Rams to gain more traction than what they've already gained in terms of winning the NFC West. This is going to be a playoff caliber matchup between two high-level teams, in my opinion. The last time we saw the Green Bay Packers, they took one on the chin a week ago against the Detroit Lions. So you know they're trying to get back in the winning column as well. And like I said, with Seattle, Jeremy, they're trying to create more separation from the pack, especially from the Rams in their division.
Seahawks chasing their first NFC West title since 2020. Our two-time Super Bowl champion Bryant McFadden discussing playoff chances here on HQ. Great to see you, B-Mac. And, of course, a full slate of games from the NFL on CBS this weekend. Kansas City at Cleveland, part of our 1 p.m. window. Chiefs have won 15 straight games by 1 possession. That's an NFL record. Giants taking on Baltimore. 0-7 at home are the Giants for the first time since 1974. And in the late window, boy, oh boy, Sportsline says Buffalo at Detroit. That is a Super Bowl matchup, the most favored one right now. And it's the first matchup in 25 years between two teams with 10 wins and no Super Bowl titles. The NFL on CBS this Sunday.